LEGO has given us a ton of new LEGO Star Wars figures each year, and with that, a lot of brand new and often very obscure characters. With around 1,500 Star Wars figures that have been made throughout the years, you could think that LEGO has already made every somewhat important character, but in my opinion you would be pretty wrong with such a statement. I think there's still a good amount of characters that we need in LEGO form, and in today's video I want to show you 10 that need to be made at some point. This list is in no particular order, and I'm pretty sure that I forgot some other important characters, so please let me know down in the comments below some characters that I didn't consider but LEGO needs to make as minifigures. And now let's start with the first character. And the first minifigure on this list that LEGO hopefully sometimes in the future releases is Admiral Trench. He's known as one of the most terrifying admirals of the Separatist fleet, and also a very popular character from the Star Wars The Clone Wars TV show, yet we somehow haven't had a release of this guy as a LEGO Star Wars minifigure, even though I think it wouldn't be that hard to do. Here, for example, is a custom minifigure that I got, which in my opinion looks pretty dang awesome. He has a kind of building technique to utilize the 4 arms he has, but still, I don't think it would be that hard to do it for LEGO, especially with some new molding or reusing some pieces from older figures. Parts-wise, I think they would only really need to do a new mold for his head. I think he deserves this, while Rio Duran from the Solo sub-theme, which by the way is an incredibly underrated sub-theme, got a torso with more than 2 arms. He only has 2 additional arms, so 4, and Trench got 6 in total, so it wouldn't be entirely accurate if LEGO would reuse this torso. However, I think this inaccuracy would be okay, as it would be pretty hard to come up with a torso with 6 arms without creating some additional pieces. And I think it would just be so awesome to finally get an official release of Trench that this would be an incredibly cool release, and I wouldn't mind having just 4 arms, even though this would be inaccurate. With this being said, I would be very interested to hear if you would be fine with slight inaccuracies so we're able to get more obscure characters from LEGO, or would your Trench need to have 6 arms so you'd like him? Feel free to tell me in the comments down below, as I'm very interested to hear your thoughts and opinions about this. The next figure on this list is one of the most important characters of the entire Star Wars galaxy. It is the mother of Anakin Skywalker, Shmi Skywalker, and with that, the reason for the whole story of the Skywalker saga. We got a lot of figures from the Tatooine scenes of the Phantom Menace, such as Watto, Sebulba, Walt, heck, even Alder Beedo got a figure, yet the mother of Anakin Skywalker doesn't exist in LEGO form. Here is once again a custom figure that I got for a future mock idea, and as you can see it is a very simple and super easy to do custom figure, so I guess it would be no problem for LEGO to create a minifigure of her. Just some simple torso and face printing, the same for the slope/dress piece, and a hairpiece that LEGO most likely already used on another figure, and boom, you crossed one of the most important missing figures of the list. I think you can even combine her in a set with the unfinished C-3PO in an Anakin home diorama similar to the last family homestead where LEGO released Aunt Beru, and something in that direction would be pretty cool, but yeah, he's not part of this video. Staying in the Phantom Menace, there is another very important character that is still missing, and this is Boss Nass. While Jar Jar has had multiple figures, and there have also been a couple of Gungans, they are still missing their important leader, Boss Nass, who was really important in the Battle of Naboo. I feel like almost everybody he interacts with in the movie already exists, yet he himself doesn't, and I really wanted this character for years, and was really hoping for something with the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, and also at the same time the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, yet I got very disappointed. There is an incredible figure in the game LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and I think if LEGO were to copy this version 101, it would be an amazing addition to every prequels fan collection. Yeah, he would require a ton of new molding, as I think he would need not only a completely new headpiece, but also a pretty unique torso, but this combined with some awesome printing would make one of the most unique looking aliens and LEGO figures ever made, and I think this character deserves it. Another very beloved prequel character that is still missing is also a very good friend of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this is obviously the one and only Dexter Jettster. Being the same species as Pong Krell, a lot of LEGO Star Wars fans just like me were and are still wondering why this character never got a minifigure, especially as you could just reuse the head from Pong Krell. You would just have to change the lower part for this piece, as the torso is connected to the head. Otherwise you could just basically reuse almost the whole minifigure with some printing changes and some minor molding changes, and we would finally have the owner of the best diner in the whole galaxy. Packed in a small diorama or even a bigger build of his diner and combined with his service droid as another figure, this would be a pretty awesome set, and I think it will also sell pretty well considering that the prequels are very well received in today's day and age. Once again, they could use the in-game version of Dexter from the Skywalker Saga video game as an example, and I think it once again looks stellar, and with a bunch of changes I personally think it wouldn't be that much work to make this minifig happen. If you were to ask me, one of the coolest looking political figures in the Star Wars universe has to be Maz Amedda. Because of this, it is pretty sad that we never got him as a LEGO minifigure till now, and I think besides the headpiece it wouldn't be that difficult to do. Don't get me wrong, the headpiece requires a good amount of work and a lot of details to look cool, but the rest could be done with prints as we see him in the Skywalker Saga game, and while I would prefer a custom shoulder piece, I'd be fine with printing, and also if this figure came without arm printing. His staff is also very easy to build as you see in the video game once again. You just need a couple of Lego pieces that already exist, and otherwise this character has just some printed details and a cape, which really should be no problem for Lego. I'd love to have him standing next to Palpatine in a Senate diorama where Palpatine announces the brand new Empire, or to have him standing next to him in Palpatine's office. I don't know why, but I always thought this character seemed pretty cool, and he is also pretty important as he is Chancellor Palpatine's assistant, and this is the biggest villain of the Star Wars universe. So yeah, please Lego, give us Maz Amedda. Next up, there is a pretty unknown character, but if you watch the Clone Wars TV show, I bet you know who I'm talking about. Nuvo Windy only appeared in one arc of the Clone Wars, and it was the episode about the Blue Shadow virus, which Windy recreated himself as he was employed by the Confederacy of Independent Systems, aka the Separatists. He later on tried to spread that virus on Naboo and with that throughout the whole galaxy, but thankfully got stopped by the Jedi Order, the Galactic Republic, and by that also the Bomb Squad troopers, which Lego has already made. And because these troopers already exist and still look really cool as they got lag printing, which was not that normal in 2011, and also because I believe Windy is the only real threat that we see them fighting, it would be a pretty logical release to give these already existing troopers an opponent. Speaking of clone troopers, there are a lot of very popular and beloved characters, and one of those fan favorites is undeniably Clone Commander Wolfie. Well, Lego made him in his Phase 1 armor, which by the way is an incredibly good looking figure. Even after almost 15 years, they never made him in his Phase 2 armor, which looks just as great. With the recent releases of a lot of clone focused sets, we got a lot of legions and also commanders that fans wanted for years, such as a Phase 2 Cody, Bly and his 327th Legion, Phase 2 Fox, Bakara and also his Galactic Marines. Because of that, it is pretty likely that we won't only see new versions of the Kashyyyk Scouts in Phase 2 Gree, but also of the Phase 2 Wolfpack Troopers, which already looked so damn cool in 2014, and a Phase 2 Wolfie, which was needed and wanted for years. I hope that Lego, if they end up making him, gives him a cloth karma, but if I had to bet on it, I'd guess he will sadly only get a printed one. Otherwise, I think Lego would be able to nail this figure, as they would only need to print grey on white, which shouldn't be a color problem like we saw it on Fox, and otherwise he still isn't all too difficult to make. I guess he would need a lot of details on his helmet print and also a unique face print to represent him properly, but no new additional pieces would need to be made, and overall he'd be a much needed character and a very welcome addition to my, and I guess everyone's Lego clone army. Another pretty prominent member of the Grand Army of the Republic, at least before he went ahead and joined the Empire, is Crosshair. Introduced in the Clone Wars, later on playing a crucial role in the story of the Bad Batch, he is one of the members of the similar named group, also called Clone Force 99. Now some of y'all might bring up the point that we already have a Crosshair minifigure, and with such a statement you would absolutely be correct. So why did I include him on this list? Because Lego for some reason only made Crosshair with his Imperial look, and till this day I can only partly understand this decision. I guess Lego wanted to have a villain/opponent in the Bad Batch shuttle to have a counterpart against the rest of Clone Force 99, and because this was the only set they released for Season 1 back then, before later on releasing sets like the Justifier, I guess their only way was to make Crosshair the bad guy. I would have understood this a lot more if they also released a bunch of his elite troopers that we see in the show, but no, Crosshair is solo. Like this, you can't really display him with the Empire as he doesn't have any troopers or somewhere he really fits, and you also can't really put him with the Bad Batch as his armor doesn't really fit the rest of the team. Because of this, I would love to get a version of him that matches the rest of Clone Force 99, making a way better look on the shelf. In my opinion, Lego should have put Crosshair in his Empire look in a different set with a bunch of his troopers, and should have included the quote-unquote good guy Crosshair in the shuttle. The second to last character on this list is no other than the creator of the whole franchise we're even talking about. And of course, I'm speaking of George Lucas himself. Lego Star Wars as a theme exists since 1999, which is over 25 years, and yet we still have no singular officially released version of a George Lucas figure. And I thought that the 25th anniversary of Lego Star Wars was a good chance, but the even better chance to include a George Lucas figure in a set would have been the Star Wars logo sign that got released this very year. However, Lego decided to include not a singular minifigure in that set, and in my opinion threw away a super cool chance to give George a worthy appreciation for creating Lego's most successful theme. I don't know if Lego wasn't allowed to make a figure of him, or if George Lucas himself doesn't want such a thing to exist, which I personally don't think is the case, but otherwise I don't get why Lego till this day never released such a figure. But now let's get to the last character, at least for this video, and this is L337 from the Solo movie. Well, I feel like this is a pretty controversial character, as I only hear people either loving or hating this character and no in between. No matter if you like her or not, you gotta admit that she deserved to be part of the Solo movie Millennium Falcon set, and I don't know why Lego decided not to include her and rather include two random droids, which do look really cool, especially the astromech with legs, but L3 is a much more important character in that movie. She was known for fighting for droid rights, improving herself with other parts, being the love interest of Lando Calrissian, and later on being uploaded into the Millennium Falcon's computer system, so I guess you could say that you got her with the Millennium Falcon itself, but a minifigure would be way more appreciated in comparison to my mental gymnastics here. I also think her design looks really cool and would make for a very unique looking droid, and she would also flesh out the Solo minifigure lineup and make it more complete, as she's one of the most missing characters from that movie. But now, this was my list of 10 characters that Lego still needs to make, or at least part 1, as I think there are probably a lot more characters out there that Lego either forgot to make or didn't have the opportunity yet to make. Because of this, I would be really interested to see some of your suggestions that LEGO still needs to convert into minifigures and actual sets. If you enjoyed this video, I would highly appreciate a like to support the channel. Please consider subscribing if you're new, check out the other LEGO videos on my channel, and other than that, have a great day.